Is the Hyundai Santa Cruz a pickup truck or just a crossover SUV with a truck bed? Pickup truck or SUV with a bed? What the hell is it? Well, why don't we go for a drive and try to answer that question. So first things first, from behind the steering wheel, the Hyundai Santa Cruz feels just like a regular crossover SUV. It doesn't really feel like a body-on-frame pickup truck. You still do get that raised height, so you have very good visibility all around you. It doesn't feel as wide as a pickup truck. The steering is not too light, but also not too heavy. And it feels pretty agile around corners. It doesn't feel like it wants to roll over and drive on its door handles. Overall, on city streets, the Hyundai Santa Cruz does not feel intimidating like how a pickup truck might for those that have never driven a pickup truck in their life. But how does it feel when you take it off the beaten path? When you're driving on gravel roads or through mud ruts or sand, the Santa Cruz can handle most of it. It comes standard with H-Track all-wheel drive when equipped with the 2.5-liter turbo engine. There are 3 off-road modes to choose from: mud, sand, and snow. Each slightly alter the throttle response, transmission shifts, traction and stability programs, and the all-wheel drive system to keep the Santa Cruz going when you're driving through the rougher terrain. Of course, for more extreme off-road activities, this cannot compete against a purpose-built truck like the Chevrolet Colorado ZR2 or Jeep Gladiator Mojave. Check out the review of the Jeep Gladiator in the top right if you're interested. Under the hood of the Hyundai Santa Cruz, you have 2 engine options. That is, in the United States, you have 2 engine options. Here in Canada, we unfortunately only have 1 engine available. The base engine in the United States is a 2.5-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder. It produces 191 horsepower and 181 pound-feet of torque. The optional engine, which is what we get here in Canada, is a turbocharged version of that 2.5-liter. It produces 281 horsepower and 311 pound-feet of torque. In everyday driving situations, the engine has plenty of low-end torque, so you can get off the line with ease. And at higher RPMs, when you're wanting to overtake someone on a highway, it's got plenty of punch. This 2.5 turbo engine is paired with an 8-speed dual-clutch automatic. The shifts between the gears are seamless, for lack of a better word. They're really smooth. However, those shifts are not quite as quick as I was expecting them to be, especially from a dual-clutch automatic. This is the same transmission that's found in the Hyundai Sonata N-Line, albeit with slightly different gear ratios. And in that car, the shifts are very quick. By the way, if you're interested in that review, you can check it out up here. But in this Hyundai Santa Cruz, yeah, the shifts are fast, but for a dual clutch, they are relatively slow. However, I'm totally fine with that because what really matters in a vehicle like this is how smooth those shifts are, and they are, like I said, pretty much seamless. As for fuel economy, with this 2.5 turbo and the all-wheel drive system, the Hyundai Santa Cruz is rated for 12.1 liters per 100 kilometers in a city and 8.6 liters per 100 kilometers on a highway. The highway fuel economy, I can completely believe. It's very easy to reach that. City fuel economy, though, is a little bit more difficult. I've noticed on trips where I stick mainly to the city, I'm actually averaging closer to about 13, maybe 13 and a half liters per 100 kilometers. However, I have also been driving quite a bit on highways, and currently I am averaging a combined cycle of 11.7 liters per 100 kilometers. So overall, the driving dynamics of the Hyundai Santa Cruz feel much closer to a crossover SUV than they do a body-on-frame pickup truck. I think it's fantastic. It drives really, really well. Just like the driving dynamics of the Hyundai Santa Cruz, the ride feels like as though you're in a crossover SUV. Bumps in the road are easily absorbed by the suspension, and it doesn't feel overly jarring on uneven road surfaces. Of course, if you do take it off-roading, then the suspension can only do so much. But overall, for daily commutes, this is very, very comfortable. Inside the Hyundai Santa Cruz, it pretty much looks like a Tucson. However, it does have some good things about it, but also some not so good things about it. So starting with the good stuff first. In front of me is a full digital display with very crisp and clear graphics. It doesn't have a hood, but I haven't really noticed any issues with direct sunlight or glare hitting my eyes. Next is the infotainment system, which is displayed on a beautiful 10.25-inch touchscreen. The screen itself is really responsive, and as for the infotainment system, it's easy to learn and very easy to use. I like it. And finally, the last good thing about this interior is the fact that it has a traditional shifter. No rotary dial, no push buttons, just a good old-fashioned shifter. Now for the bad stuff about this interior. The climate controls are not physical buttons. I understand why Hyundai has done this because it's probably cheaper to manufacture than having buttons for each individual control. However, when you're driving and you want to change, for example, the temperature, your index finger does a lot of this when you're going over bumps. So it's really hard to tell whether you actually changed the setting that you wanted to change. Hyundai could have at least given us a volume knob and a tuning knob and maybe some buttons for the actual temperature and maybe even the fan. But it's completely touch-sensitive controls, which I just really, really hate, and it irritates me. The worst thing is, they actually have buttons here for the heated and ventilated seats and the heated steering wheel. Why couldn't they just replicate this and put some here? And finally, the other big thing that I really hate about this interior is all the gloss black plastic. Not only is it all around here on the center console and on these climate controls, but it's also on the cup holders, or at least the cup holder surrounds, and right here on the door panels. This I really don't understand because you obviously are always going to grab these to close the doors, and people tend to wear rings on their fingers. I mean, I know I'm not wearing any, but a lot of people do. So every time you grab onto it, it's probably going to scratch. And also, not to mention, all of this gloss black attracts dust, fingerprints, smudges, blood, pus, you name it. It's just going to look a mess after even a few weeks, never mind a few years of owning the Santa Cruz. Interior space in the Santa Cruz is a bit less than its closest rival, the Honda Ridgeline. But front occupants will still have enough space even if they are above average in height like myself. Rear occupants won't be so lucky. Headroom is good, but legroom is tight for taller adults. There is some underseat storage, although half of it is taken up by the jack. And there is a little sliding window just like how you would find in other pickup trucks. In the United States, with the naturally aspirated 2.5-liter engine, the 2022 Hyundai Santa Cruz costs $23,990 US. Like I mentioned earlier, we don't get that engine in Canada. Here, it starts at $38,500 Canadian for the preferred trim and goes up to $44,800 Canadian for this ultimate trim. Interestingly, the price of this top-spec trim is the same starting price as the Honda Ridgeline. The entry-level Santa Cruz comes extremely well equipped. Well, you would expect it to be at almost $40,000 Canadian. It has leather and heated seats, heated steering wheel, wireless phone charging, 8-inch touchscreen with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, a factory-installed tonneau cover, and a full suite of advanced safety and driver aids, to name a few. Because the United States market has a lower trim than here in Canada, the Santa Cruz doesn't come as fully loaded as it does in the Canadian market for a base trim. Upgrade to this Ultimate trim and it adds features such as surround view cameras with blind zone view, highway driving assist, ventilated front seats, a 10.25-inch touchscreen with navigation, LED headlights, and rain sensing wipers. Let's take a quick look at the styling of the new Santa Cruz, and it broadly looks similar to the Hyundai Tucson, except on the Santa Cruz, these blocks on the grille are bigger and more spaced apart. It still has daytime running lights here, and the high and low beams are down here, as well as this boomerang thing is the turn signals. I'll be honest with you, I'm not the biggest fan of the Hyundai Tucson styling, but on the Santa Cruz, I think it works a little bit better and it looks very business-like. So if the front is business, then that means the party's in the back. Let's go check it out. So the bed of the Hyundai Santa Cruz is not quite as spacious as the Honda Ridgeline. Actually, the entire truck is smaller than the Ridgeline, but the bed still has some pretty cool stuff. Firstly is this factory installed tonneau cover. Nice and solid, and it'll really keep your valuables safe. However, it's not without faults. Notice how much space it takes up. I mean, this is already a pretty small bed compared to the Ridgeline, and that just limits much more stuff that you can put in the bed. But the Santa Cruz does have underbed storage, just like the Ridgeline, and it is waterproof, but it's not as deep as the Ridgelines. It has LED lighting on the side as well as from the top. It has a 115 volt power outlet, and it has these sliders so you can secure your load wherever you want it to be. And I'm surprised that not many other pickup trucks copied GM's design, but the Santa Cruz did. What I'm talking about is the corner bed step. It makes it so much easier to get into the back. So back to the original question. What is the Hyundai Santa Cruz? Is it a pickup truck or an SUV with a truck bed? To me, it feels more like the latter. It drives and rides like an SUV, and it's not as big as a pickup truck, which makes it less intimidating for those that have never driven a pickup truck in their life. And I think that's the biggest appeal to this Hyundai Santa Cruz. It's really comfortable and really nice to just drive around the city on a day-to-day basis, commuting to work, commuting to school, or whatever. But it has the versatility of a pickup truck. So on the back, you can put IKEA boxes or flowers and I don't know what else from a garden center. You can go camping with it. Just the possibilities are pretty much endless. Sure, it's not as capable as a pickup truck, whether it's off-roading or towing stuff, but I think it has just enough capability for everyday use and for the odd occasion where you do need a truck bed. So on that basis, I actually really like the Hyundai Santa Cruz. What do you think? Do you agree with me? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, if you want to know more about this 2022 Hyundai Santa Cruz, I wrote a more detailed review of it over on my website. You can find that link in the video description. And as always, I will see you in the next car or truck or most likely another SUV or maybe some sort of SUV truck hybrid like this one. Who knows? Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe and see you in the next video.